Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome back to our show. I'm your host, John Harkar, and I'm here today with John Blackburn. And what we're going to talk a little bit today is about turnkey rental properties. Hey, guys, remember, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, all real estate entrepreneurs, 2 to 5x your business by providing tools and resources to grow the business you want to grow, which helps live the life that you've always dreamed of. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Excited for our conversation today and see where this goes.
Yeah, me too. I know I have a couple rentals, and I know that, a lot of other folks are, even not even in the real estate space have thought about getting rentals because we know that real estate can build the wealth. But before we get into all that, do me a favor and tell our audience a little bit about you, kind of your background, how you got into real estate, and kind of what got you here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, back in 2005, 2006, we all remember those amazing years in real estate. One of my good friends from home was a real estate agent, and I was in college, and he convinced me to get my real estate license. And any real estate agent could sell a house at that point in time, so I had immense success right out of the gates. And then 2008, 2009 hit, and life got a little bit ugly. So my focus, I knew real estate was the game after I graduated college, but being an agent wasn't working any longer. So that's where my focus turned to investing. And just like everyone else, right? You start wholesaling, you do your first fix and flip, you see if you have the metal to handle the stress, and you just grow up from there. And over the years, I've been really lucky to create a lot of really amazing relationships, which has ultimately helped me, expand and focus on rental property investing, which is really my, my core business for the most part. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So you're listing properties back in, before the crash. The crash comes, you had to pivot, right? So what type of mindset did you have to have in that change? And then what kind of challenges did you come across as far as, now getting into wholesaling?
Yeah, I was a real estate agent. I was 20, 21, 22 years old around those times, and you're broke, right? You barely have any credits, right? You get that first commission check for $6,000 and you think it's the most amazing thing in the world. So, by the time the market swung, I didn't know anything about economics. I'm just like, oh, why can't we get financing for houses anymore, right? Like that was my mindset back then. And, so you're like, what are the other ways to do that? And it's like what everybody else does, right? You start Googling, you start looking for people that have done it already. And, I was lucky enough to meet my mentors, Stan Merrill and Paul Sation, who at one point owned Fortune Builders. They had moved to San Diego about the same time I did. And that's what kick-started me into the wholesaling and rehabbing game, was meeting them, meeting their team, learning their education and their process. And ultimately, I went to work with them for a while, for about 8 or 9 years, but at the same time, build a real estate investing business too.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Yep.
Did you seek out Than and the other gentleman? Did you seek out a mentor, or, why was it important for you to find that piece versus, heck, YouTube U or, any other, information that's out there on the internet?
Yeah, you want to, I'll give you the short, but, insider story, if you will.
Please.
So, yes, I was searching for a mentor. Like that was happening. And, I knew of Fortune Builders. I knew of Fan. I also knew of who was the guy in Texas, Montalongo, I think in Texas, and like some other people in that industry at that point in time. And guess who moves into the condo across from me when I moved to California? Fortune Builders, CMO, and at one point she turned into my wife.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah,
so there's a little backstory there.
Yeah, there's a backstory. She introduced me to, Than and Paul, and I was like, oh my God, I was just looking at these guys on Google, and now I'm at a barbecue with these guys. So that's pretty awesome. Unfortunately, that marriage didn't work out, but it changed the course of my life and the trajectory of investing. So I was actively looking, and then the world conspired to put me in the right place.
About to say, that's kind of the epitome of right place, right time, I guess,
Yeah.
in a sense, and on all aspects, not just the ability to find these mentors, but a wife as well.
Right? Yeah.
So you start wholesaling, right? At what point did you kind of start thinking I want to start stepping the game up, maybe doing some flips, maybe holding properties? Where did that kind of process lead you or guide you?
Yeah, a few things. First was, I started flipping houses very early on. I maybe wholesaled a couple properties.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, I need to get in this flipping game because that's, it's more consistent. I think personally it's less work than wholesaling properties. So that's, I jumped into that super quickly just because I wanted to find more consistency. I was really into it. Everybody wants to have their own HGTV show. So, that was the mindset. I was like, hey, I felt like wholesaling was like kind of your entry level point. And I wanted to move through that entry level point as quickly as possible. So that's really how I went into the game. And then after I started that, Than and Paul at that point in time, they had flipped hundreds of homes.
Yeah.
This was probably 15, 20 years ago at this point. But Than had said something to me. He's like, man, the biggest regret that I had, and this is someone who's, now worth $100 million. So like, how many regrets can somebody have at that point?
Right.
But he goes, the biggest regret that I had, man, that I didn't hold more properties that I purchased, right? He's like, if I could go back and do anything different in my real estate career, that would be it. And I took that to heart. I was like, oh shit, okay, I should probably listen to this guy. And that's where my mindset shift came of like, I need to not only fix and flip and grow this business, but I also need to really pay attention to holding properties as well too.
Got it. Okay. So when you're flipping these properties, how many properties did you start buying? Like, did you keep every other one? Did you keep ones that just kind of fit your specific buy box or what you want to hold? Or
yeah, so I took a little bit different approach. So I was investing, I was doing fix and flips, and I still am today in Connecticut. And if anybody knows anything about Connecticut, it's brutally expensive. It's like Southern California, but with snow. So it doesn't make sense I don't know why people would live there, right? High taxes, high property costs, so on and so forth. It's not a really good rental market. So what I did was I basically said, hey, if I can stand on the gas on my flipping business, I can get, these big checks coming in, and then I'm just going to translate, instead of keeping every second property or keeping every third property I sell, I use those proceeds to go buy a rental in a good market.
Got it.
So that was the process that I took, and that's how I kind of got into the turnkey game. because I was like, I'm focused on growing a business. You know, a lot of my clients are focused on their W-2.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Job, but we still want to invest in real estate. So that's the direction that I went with it.
What were the challenges of flipping on the other side of the country? Because a virtual flip is not easy. I can't imagine.
Yeah, the funny thing is I don't know the difference, man. Like,
really?
I've never flipped a house where I could drive to it and just see it, right?
Okay.
So it's like,
right.
Everyone's like, what were the challenges? I was like, I don't know what the challenges would be different from doing it in your backyard. I had, my project manager, I had a really, really good relationship with him. And I think that solved a lot of problems that you normally otherwise would have. I just had a really awesome project manager. I have a second project manager now that's just as equally as amazing. And, they handled 99% of it from a boots on the ground standpoint. They're my eyes and ears. I trust them fully, and that allows me to just focus on acquisitions and business strategy.
Okay, so your project manager is the one that would bring all the trades guys. They'd bring all the contractors and all that kind of stuff. Yep. So you're just kind of like hands off, and once you get a property, turn it over to them and kind of I guess manage it from a 30,000-foot view, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have SOPs in place, right? Our project managers put together all of the scopes of work. I sit down and review the scope of work and approve it with them. And then we have weekly meetings. We have one meeting every single week where we review each property, budget, timeline, any issues, change orders, things of that nature. And so that's, we review pictures and obviously and all those things. But other than that, they manage everything in the day-to-day.
Okay, very cool. So what does your business look like now?
Yeah, so we fix and flip and still wholesale properties on a monthly basis, right? For me, direct mail is my bread and butter for leads in New Haven and Hartford County. We spend 20, 30,000 direct mail pieces every month. We do some PPL, we do that, and that's how we get the leads, and we just crank. And then on the other side of it, I have a second business where I was working with fortune builders, educating myself, learning how to build a rental property portfolio. Like I saw this need, like we're hoodwinked or undereducated in terms of how to invest in real estate, or really invest at all, period, whether it comes to stock market, crypto, whatever, you name it, we don't know it, right?
Sure.
And real estate's my bag. So, we created this company called Turnkey Property Pros, where we sit down with someone who wants to buy rental properties, build out an entire financial investing strategy for them, surrounded by rental properties, and then help them find and acquire those properties. So that's kind of the next evolution of what we've been doing the last couple of years.
Got it. Okay. And then, and I'm curious because, I talk to a lot of folks and a lot of them do some mail. What kind of response rates are you getting in mail? And, have you seen those tick up? Have you seen them go down?
Yeah, I mean, we're always testing, measuring everything, right? I think industry average right now is 0.5% for direct mail. For us, we try to keep it at just above 1%, right? If we fall behind that percentage, that usually means that, either that list or that mail piece is getting fatigued, and depending on how long each one's been running, we'll adjust one or the other to kind of see. But yeah, I mean, direct mail is, obviously not the highest response rate, but what I've always found is direct mail is consistent as heck, right? If you put mail on the street, you will get phone calls and you will get deals. Like if I'm going to do 30,000 mailers, I'm going to walk away this month with 6 deals. Like that's, we just do that. And that's how it works, right? Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think I asked this before. Why specifically did you choose Connecticut, or how did you choose that as a virtual market?
Yeah, well, we had talked about earlier, I had met.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
At that time, my wife, and that's where she was from. She was from Connecticut, actually. So I was from Pennsylvania. She was from Connecticut. She had family in Connecticut, so I started to still just invest there because it was easy. And yeah, and even a marriage later, I'm still investing there. I still love the market. It's a super popular market. It's still really a seller's market at this point in time. So we love investing there. Yep.
What do you think are important things for folks to look at when they're gauging or looking at a virtual market? Because a lot of folks maybe want to think about the big markets, the markets in Texas and Florida and maybe Vegas, but some of these smaller markets, what are the key things to look for?
Yeah. For me, I'm always going to look at cost, right? What is my price point? What is my buy-in, right? I always like to mitigate my risk. I always like to invest and flip properties where my ARV is within 20% of the median home value, right? Because our median home value is where our biggest buyer pool is, right? That's always going to be where most people, the majority of new buyers, are going to be able to afford, right? So I want to look at that, right? Like in San Diego, our median home buyer price point is like $750,000 to $850,000.
$1 million.
Yeah, it's like insane, right? And like you're like, I have to spend that much money to do this property, right? Where in Connecticut, that median is like 350, right? And you're like, okay, I can get in at 2, I can do a renovation and be out at 350. So, that helps to keep my risk down, right? Number one. And then number two, if you really want to dig deep, then you can start looking at the economics of a city, right? Population growth, what type of socioeconomic anchors, jobs are in those areas, right? What's driving that economy, whether it's, in decline or increasing. So, there's several things, but first I would always start with price. And then from there, you can move on to the economics of the city themselves.
Okay. And with these smaller markets, right, it's probably maybe a more case of, you might be known, people might talk, it's a smaller market, right? So how did you go in and brand yourself in there? Obviously not being in Connecticut, how did you brand yourself into that virtual market?
Yeah. One thing that you do over years of investing, like when you start out, like branding yourself, I never worried about branding myself. I never worried about having my face on a billboard. I was like, just need my first deal. Let's go get our first deal. And that's all that matters. And what happens is over time, you start to see a correlation, right? You and I were talking about before the call, data, right? So, the same list you mail to is the same list that you're cold calling. It's the same list that you're text messaging. They're the same type of people that you're doing TV commercials to, which we've done all of this over the years, right?
Okay.
So, you show up in front of these people in 9 different ways, and then that creates the brand, especially with sellers. And for me, I don't really care, what my brand is to other real estate agents or whatever. I just want sellers to know my name. Right.
Yeah.
And by, one, giving yourself time, and 2, exercising different marketing avenues, you're ultimately, even though it's not 100% perfect, but 9 out of 10 times you're going to be marketing to the same person through multiple different channels, right? Just because, if you look at all of how AI pulls the stress data on each person, you're just going to wind up there, right? So, that's how you create your brand and name, and then produce a good product at the end of the day. I was probably a year or 2 into the business, and I had a property inspector for one of my buyers that was coming in to buy a flip. Property inspector called me after he did the inspection. He goes, "Hey man, I normally don't do this, but I just wanted to give you a call and let you know that you produce the best product in Connecticut out of any of the flippers that I've done inspections on. And I just want
Wow.
to say that I appreciate that for you. And I was like, man, I really thank you. And
That's awesome.
I tell all my buyers or all my clients that get an inspection from me for one of your properties that that's the best renovated property in Connecticut. And I was like, couldn't ask for more than that, So produce a good product. The
Yeah,
word will
man.
get out.
Yeah, let your results speak for themselves. That's awesome. And organic branding is the best branding of all, right? When you're not
Yep.
going out and forcing it on people, it's just from the fruits of your labor per se, right?
Yep.
So let's talk
Exactly.
about your turnkey rental business. Okay. So you created this. Why? Why did you see the need to have a turnkey rental business? Or why did
Yeah.
you feel the need to create one?
Yeah, I mean, why does anybody else, create a business? Is because usually the individual that's creating the business had the need to begin with, and then saw that more people had it, right? And I was
Right.
I was in the same position, right? I've been in the turnkey space now for probably 11 or 12, 13 years. I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. I've seen that, if you jump online and Google, I want to buy turnkey real estate, right? There is no governing body on what is good turnkey real estate and what is bad turnkey real
Mm-hmm.
estate, right? And the word turnkey is the most bastardized term in real
I
estate
am
at this point in time, right? you know
100%.
for me, the definition of turnkey is fully like integrated, it's like linearly, right? The same company that finds the house is the same company that buys it, that renovates it, that tenants it, that's manage it. There's a straight line of accountability across the
Mm-hmm.
board, right? But turnkey's use, I found it and then somebody else renovated and somebody else is going to manage it. And that's when you get into this mess of like non-performance from the property. So one, I wanted to have the opportunity to provide a product to someone that was really good, right? That when you said you were getting a 12% return, you actually got a 12% return.
Right.
And, there's so many people out there on a day-to-day basis that want to invest in real estate, but truly don't have the time or really the desire to learn the ins and outs of it. But they're like, I'd love to own real estate, but I don't want to learn how to rehab a house, which I totally get. So, that was the base premise for it, is provide an amazing product and a service that I think is really wanted by investors across the United States.
And how are you finding these clients that want to invest but don't want to do any of the hammer swing and all that type
Yeah.
of stuff?
Yeah, we do all kinds of things. One, I come on podcasts like this. Two is we do direct paid marketing
Mhm.
to consumers through Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. I do a lot of educating and talks with self-directed retirement companies.
Okay.
So I'll go on and educate their students on their clients on how they can use their self-directed retirement account to invest in rental properties. And lastly, we work with a couple larger education companies, right? Like fix and flip education companies,
Mhm.
and educate their students on how they can invest. So those are like the 4 or 5 main ways that we bring in clients to help service and help invest.
Okay, very cool.
Yep.
What kind of trends are you seeing in real estate here? Now coming up the pipe, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, none of us have a crystal ball, but I don't see real estate changing a whole lot in probably the course of the next 12 months. So that, you know, we'll see what happens after this 90-day tariff stay,
Yeah.
surpasses. That could definitely adjust things. But, the only thing that I think could arguably adjust real estate at the moment is if rates are drastically lowered. And, the Fed and our current administration are not seeing eye to eye on that. So I don't think
Mm-mm.
anything's going to happen anytime soon. I think we're just going to hang out. Some markets are still sellers markets. Some markets are buyers markets. If you look at Florida and Texas, and I think it's just going to kind of be the status quo for a while. I
Yeah.
don't, and I always say this, like, there's never, perspective gives us the opportunity to learn, right? And the best learning that I've come out from starting in 2006, right, to it being 2025 right now is I always say, if you bought a house in 2010, or sorry, if you bought a house in 2006,
Mhm.
and in 2010, you were really, really, really pissed off you bought that house in 2006, right?
Right.
But in 2025, you're really, really, really pissed off you didn't buy as many houses as you could in
Back then.
2006, right?
Yeah.
So that's perspective, right? Like just buy real estate. Like that's the end. I don't care what the rate is. Just buy it, right? That's the end of the story.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, hey, I'm going to wait till things get better, or maybe till rates lower. Well, what happens when rates lower? Prices go up. So, it's
you
like
marry your purchase price and you date your rate, right? Because you
Exactly.
can always change your interest rate. You can never change your purchase price.
That's
Who cares what interest
100%.
rates are?
I think that's one of
Make
the
sure
better
the purchase
nuggets.
price.
Better nuggets I've gotten on one of these podcasts lately. So, what advice would you give to somebody that maybe wants to start getting into whether it's turnkey, whether it's flipping, just investing as a whole? Like, what advice would you say that has been a key to your success?
Hey man, I hear all these people talk about mentors, right? And mentor, I don't think is the right term or the right type of person that you need to support you, right? What I would call is someone that is going to hold you accountable.
Accountability.
Because I can go on YouTube and learn everything, right? I can go and, get on, all these forums or, go pay, $99 a month to have a membership somewhere and get the education I need. But what happens is people, they tell themselves that information gathering is action, and it's not.
No.
It's just information gathering.
Yeah.
And, I would rather have someone that knows nothing about real estate but's willing to shove their foot up my butt every week and tell me, like, go do this. You spend all this time, go do this, right? So find someone that will hold you accountable. If they're a master at what you've already done, awesome, right? But, instead of going and looking for a mentor, go and look for someone that's going to hold you accountable. Right. Friend, family, partner, or someone who is in the real estate profession. Like that's the biggest thing, because if you're not held accountable, you're not gonna get things accomplished.
You're not going to do anything. You'll be stuck in analysis paralysis. No action
100%.
equals no reward. So,
Yep.
Well, man, any other last words of advice you'd like to give our audience?
Yeah.
Or a plug for I know for your website, your turnkey business.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, guys, the best time to invest in real estate was yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Whether, you and I work together or, the only reason you'd probably be watching this is because you are in that mindset of you want to buy real estate, right? The art of investing in real estate is very simple, right? The difficult part is taking action, right? And that's what you just need to be really good at. Not really good at investing in real estate, but really good at taking action. And, for our team, everything we do is 100% complimentary, right? We get paid if you buy a house. So it's our job to make sure you're educated and excited and know how to buy real estate. So if you're interested in investing in rental properties, Turnkey Property Pros, pros is plural.com. So turnkeypropertypros.com. You can jump in and, set up a time to chat with me or someone on my team. And, we kind of figure out what your goals are for rental property investing and go from there.
Awesome. Great information. John, thank you for coming on here and sharing all that. Guys, I hope that, when you're listening to these, you're taking some good notes, because he dropped some great nuggets. Really, I think that accountability piece is huge, to take action. John, thank you again for coming on, folks. I hope you guys had a good show. I know I did, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.